So I've been thinking about those games that just don't let up. You know, the kind where no matter how good you are, they still find a way to completely wear you down? I put together a list of 20 insanely hard games that crushed even the best players, not to rank them or anything, but just to look back at the ones that really pushed people to their limits. Some of these are well known, some might be new to you, but they all have that one thing in common. They hit hard, and they don't let go easy. I just wanted to walk through them, nice and slow, and maybe share a few quiet thoughts along the way. So yeah, if that sounds like something you're into, feel free to hang out for a bit. There's something quietly haunting about the world of Dark Souls. Not just the ruins or the monsters, but the way everything feels like it used to be alive. Like you're walking through the remains of something that once mattered. I still remember the first time I stepped into Firelink Shrine. The silence, the faded stone, the soft crackle of a distant fire. It doesn't throw you into chaos right away. It just lets you sit in it, breathe it in, and wonder what happened here. The game never holds your hand, but that's part of what makes it feel so personal. Every path you take, every shortcut you find, every boss you finally overcome, it's all yours. And the way the world folds into itself, how everything connects and loops back around in ways you never saw coming, it's brilliant in this quiet, stubborn way. You learn by doing. You fail a lot, but the moment it clicks, it's something else entirely. It's not just about the challenge. It's the rhythm of the fights, the weight of every movement, the feeling that each little victory means something. Even the NPCs feel different here. Mysterious, distant, like they're stuck in their own battles just trying to hold on. There's a strange kind of peace in Dark Souls, hidden beneath all the tension. If you slow down and really look, you'll find moments of calm between the fight's soft sounds, distant bells, the quiet hum of a place that's been forgotten. It's not just hard, it's honest and kind of beautiful in its own rough way.
Hear me out, will you?
There's this other gem I've been playing lately that really surprised me with how deep and rewarding it feels now too. At first glance, it might seem like just another action-heavy title, but the more time you spend with it, the more it reveals. The setting pulls you into this mythic version of Japan, where history and folklore are tangled together in a world full of danger and strange beauty. Every area you step into feels alive with secrets, old temples half buried in fog, flickering lanterns in the distance, and spirits that don't always mean you harm, but always leave you a little uneasy. The combat is sharp and fast, but it never feels unfair. It asks you to think, to adapt, to slow down, and really learn your timing. Every stance, every move, every little shift in your rhythm matters. And when you finally land that perfect combo, after failing a dozen times, there's this quiet feeling of satisfaction that's hard to explain. I also love how your character feels like a piece of the world, not just some outsider, but someone who belongs in that storm of blades and shadows. The yokai powers, the gear, the little details in the level design, it's all layered in a way that invites you to explore slowly, not just rush through. Even the enemies tell stories in how they move, how they fight, and how they fall. Nioh 2 isn't just difficult, it's thoughtful, beautifully made, and surprisingly personal if you let it be. Here's something different that's been stuck in my mind lately. Returnal is one of those games that quietly pulls you in without warning. It starts with this feeling of isolation, not in a sad way, but more like you've just landed somewhere no one was meant to be, and the only way forward is through. The world shifts and rearranges itself each time you fall, and there's this strange rhythm to it. A loop that doesn't just restart the level, but kind of resets your whole sense of direction. Everything around you feels alien damp stone halls, pulsing energy, distant echoes, and yet, it becomes oddly familiar the more you walk through it. The movement is quick and smooth, almost like dancing through chaos, but it never stops feeling tense. Every encounter keeps you sharp, and the silence between the fights gives you space to breathe, just enough to realize how alone you really are. What I love most is how it doesn't explain too much. You piece things together through feeling, through fragments, through the way the world reacts. It's not about flashy moments or big reveals, it's about getting lost, figuring things out slowly, and trying again with just a little more understanding than last time. Returnal is intense, but it's also quiet in its own way. And if you let yourself fall into it, there's something oddly peaceful about the storm. I really want to show you this next one. It's simple on the surface, but there's something quietly powerful about it. Celeste isn't just about climbing a mountain. It's about pushing through something that feels bigger than you, one careful step at a time. The controls are sharp and responsive, every jump matters, and you'll probably fall 100 times in the same spot before getting it right. But somehow it never feels mean. The design gently encourages you to keep trying, like the challenge is there to help you grow, not to stop you. And the world. It's full of these small, thoughtful touches, soft lighting, changing weather, tiny flickers of music that shift depending on where you are. It's not loud or dramatic, it's quiet, steady, and deeply personal if you let it be. Even the toughest sections feel like they're saying, "You've got this, just one more try." And when you finally pull it off, there's this calm little pause, like the game is letting you breathe before you move forward. Celeste is the kind of experience that sticks with you. Not just for how hard it is, but for how gentle it feels at the same time. Let's talk about something a little more fast-paced, but still surprisingly thoughtful. Dead Cells has this rhythm to it that's hard to describe until you've really spent some time with it. The world is always shifting, always changing, and you never quite step into the same place twice. But somehow, even with all that chaos, there's a kind of calm in the way everything flows. The combat is quick, responsive, and kind of addictive, but it never loses that sense of weight. You feel every hit, every dodge, every decision. What makes it really stand out, though, is how much control you have over your build. You can experiment, mess around, try weird combinations, and it almost always leads to something fun or unexpected. There's also a quiet beauty in the background, little environmental touches tucked between the action-soft lights behind old windows, echoes in a long-forgotten corridor, tiny details that remind you there's more going on than just fighting. And when you die, and you will a lot, it doesn't feel like punishment. It feels like a breath, a moment to reset, and then you're right back in it with just a bit more knowledge than before. Dead Cells moves fast, but if you slow down just enough, you'll see how carefully it's all put together. It's sharp, it's stylish, and somehow it still manages to feel kind of quiet underneath all the motion. Here's something quietly wild I've been spending time with. Noida is one of those strange little games that feels like it's alive in its own way. You drop into this dark, shifting world where every pixel follows the rules of physics, and that means everything. Lava, acid, snow, steam moves and reacts exactly how you'd expect. And sometimes in ways you really don't. It's not flashy about it either. You just start exploring, wandering deeper into this layered underground, not quite sure what's waiting ahead. And then something small happens, like a fire catching a wooden bridge you didn't notice, and suddenly the entire level feels like it's collapsing around you. It's intense but also kind of fascinating, like watching a slow, unpredictable chain reaction. The wands you pick up can completely change how you play, and the game lets you build these strange, chaotic spells that feel personal, like little experiments that might backfire or accidentally turn you into something unstoppable. But what keeps me coming back isn't just the challenge, it's the mood. There's this eerie quiet between the danger, these dimly lit caverns and empty temples that feel long forgotten. It doesn't explain anything, but you get drawn in anyway, just following curiosity wherever it leads. Noita feels like a dream you're trying to make sense of, fragile, unpredictable, and full of strange little moments that stick with you long after the run ends. There's this little adventure I really want to share. It's called Tunic, and it kind of sneaks up on you in the best way. At first glance, it feels soft and inviting, almost like a storybook come to life, with its bright colors, tiny fox hero, and peaceful little landscapes. But once you start exploring, you realize there's a quiet depth hiding just beneath the surface. The world doesn't hand you answers. There's no clear map, no big glowing arrows, just quiet places to wander through, strange symbols to wonder about, and that gentle pull of curiosity leading you forward. One of the most special parts is how the game speaks in its own made-up language, so every piece of writing feels mysterious, like finding pages from a forgotten manual. Bit by bit, you start to piece together how things work, not through cutscenes or dialogue, but through noticing small things, how shadows move, how hidden doors reveal themselves, how puzzle pieces slowly fall into place. The combat is simple but satisfying, with a careful rhythm to dodging, blocking, and striking. And even when things get tough, there's this calm to it all, like the game trusts you to keep going at your own pace. Tunic feels like taking a quiet walk through an unfamiliar forest, gentle at first, but slowly filled with wonder, surprises, and secrets that make you stop and just take it all in. There's this other gem I've been playing that really surprised me, Sifu, and it's honestly one of the most quietly intense experiences I've had in a while. From the very first few moments, it pulls you into this grounded, almost meditative world of martial arts, where every step forward feels earned, and every fight teaches you something new. It's not flashy or loud, it's more like learning a dance, one move at a time, until your hands start to remember the rhythm on their own. What makes it feel so different is how personal the journey becomes. You're not just trying to win, you're growing, aging, adapting, all while chasing this deep, almost wordless sense of purpose. The way the levels are designed feels thoughtful, with little atmospheric touches, neon signs flickering in quiet alleyways, soft rain tapping on rooftops, shadows moving just out of reach. The combat itself is crisp and tight, and every hit, dodge, and parry has weight, almost like you can feel the years of training behind each motion. What's wild is how the game reflects that growth in your character's age, not as a punishment, but as a kind of quiet storytelling, showing how time and experience shape the path. Sifu doesn't explain itself too much, and that's part of what makes it feel real. It just puts you in the middle of something intense and meaningful, and lets you figure it out your way, one step at a time. Here's something a little different I've been drawn into lately, Thumper. It's hard to describe without actually feeling it for yourself, but the moment it starts, it pulls you into this strange, glowing tunnel where everything moves with this deep, pulsing rhythm that somehow feels alive. You're this sleek, metallic beetle racing through dark, surreal corridors, and the world around you reacts to every beat, every twist, every impact. What's beautiful about it is how simple it looks on the surface, but how much it demands from you. Not just reflexes, but focus, patience, and trust in your own rhythm. There's no talking, no real instructions. It just throws you into a kind of meditative chaos where your senses guide you more than anything else. And when you're in sync, when your movements line up with the music and the visuals, it creates this rare feeling of total immersion, like you've become part of something larger, something mysterious and oddly emotional. The way it plays with sound and motion is hypnotic, and there's a strange kind of peace in the middle of all that intensity. It's not about high scores or flashy rewards, it's about the feeling of movement, of being present, moment to moment in a space that doesn't quite follow the usual rules. Thumper is one of those games that says a lot without saying anything, and somehow that silence makes the experience even more powerful. There's this other gem I've been playing that really caught me off guard, Slay the Spire. At first glance, it's just a quiet little card game tucked inside a strange tower. But the more time you spend with it, the more you start to feel how deeply it pulls you in. Every run is a different path, with every choice, every card you pick, every relic you grab, every fight you take or skip, slowly building a deck that's entirely your own. And it's not just strategy for strategy's sake. There's this subtle tension in every decision, like a quiet puzzle always shifting underneath your feet. What I really love is how it teaches you to adapt. You can go in with a plan, but the tower always has its own ideas, and it gently nudges you into learning from your failures without ever making you feel punished. The art is simple but expressive, the music hums along softly in the background, and it all comes together in a way that feels surprisingly calm, like you're sitting at a table late at night, slowly piecing together something that just clicks. It's one of those games that's easy to play in short bursts, but if you're not careful, hours slip by without even realizing it. There's no pressure, no noise, just you, your cards, and that winding climb up the spire, one thoughtful turn at a time. Here's something different, something that really lingers with you long after you put the controller down. Elden Ring isn't just a massive world filled with secrets, it's a place that feels like it was meant to be wandered slowly, without anyone telling you where to go or what to do. The first time I stepped into the open fields and saw how far the land stretched, it was quietly overwhelming in a good way. There's this stillness in the world, even when things get intense, like the land itself remembers something ancient, and you're just another traveler passing through. What makes it so special isn't just the combat or the challenge, though those are definitely there, it's the feeling of genuine discovery. You might stumble across a forgotten ruin tucked away behind a waterfall, or ride into a golden forest that shifts color as the sun goes down, and you never really know what you'll find around the next hill. The way everything is designed encourages quiet curiosity. You explore because you want to, not because a marker told you to, and when you do piece things together, whether it's figuring out a tricky fight or just slowly learning how the world fits together, it feels deeply personal, like the game is giving you space to make your own way. It's the kind of experience that doesn't rush you, doesn't hold your hand, but somehow makes the whole journey feel meaningful, even in the quietest moments. There's this other gem I've been playing, and honestly, it feels like stepping into a dark, half-forgotten dream, the kind you can't quite explain but keep thinking about long after. Bloodborne pulls you into a world that feels strange and broken, yet eerily beautiful at the same time. It's a place where the silence between sounds can feel heavier than the danger itself. The streets, the sky, even the shadows, they all seem to whisper that something's gone terribly wrong, but it doesn't tell you what. You just feel it. What really pulls me in, though, is how everything flows. The movement is fast and sharp, but it still leaves room for patience. You're not just button mashing, you're watching, reacting, learning the rhythm of the world around you. And slowly that rhythm becomes yours. You might take a wrong turn and end up somewhere you're clearly not ready for, but there's this quiet thrill in realizing you survived it anyway. The lantern-lit alleys, the old stone buildings, the long-forgotten rituals hidden behind locked gates. It all feels deeply personal, like the game trusts you to notice things on your own. And when you do figure something out, when it finally clicks, it doesn't shout or flash some big reward. It just lets you feel it. That's what makes it worth exploring, not the challenge alone, but the quiet, creeping sense that you're uncovering something that's been waiting for you all along. Here's something different I've been spending time with lately. It's the kind of world that doesn't just ask you to play, it wants you to immerse. Monster Hunter World drops you into these living, breathing ecosystems where everything moves with a rhythm of its own. Creatures wander, hunt, rest, just like you're another piece of the wild trying to make your way through it. What really stood out to me, though, is how every little detail matters. It's not just about taking down some towering beast, though that part definitely gets intense. It's the quiet moments in between that stay with you. Gathering herbs by a stream while fireflies drift past, hearing distant roars echo through the trees, or watching a creature you're tracking stop to drink water, totally unaware of you. The hunts are deep and tactical, but they never feel rushed. You learn by doing trial and error, small victories, and figuring out what works for you. It's a slow, steady loop of preparation, patience, and payoff. There's something kind of peaceful in that balance between danger and discovery, action and observation. And even when you're out there fighting for your life, it still feels like the world around you is just existing. It doesn't revolve around you, it just is. That's what makes it feel real. That's why it's worth getting lost in. There's this other gem I've been thinking about lately, quiet, mysterious, and kind of beautiful in its own lonely way. Hollow Knight doesn't shout for your attention. It just waits buried deep underground, wrapped in silence and echoes, like an old dream you slowly remember as you walk through it. The world feels ancient, like it's been forgotten by time, but it's still alive in its own quiet rhythm. You explore these hand-drawn caverns where every step feels unsure at first, but somehow familiar to flickering lights, soft wind, distant footsteps, and the occasional hum of something stirring in the dark. There's no big guide telling you what to do. You just move forward, sometimes getting lost, sometimes stumbling into something beautiful or strange, but always learning by feel. The movement is light and sharp, and there's this sense of quiet control in how you navigate the world, almost like dancing through danger. It's not just about the challenge, though, that's definitely part of it. It's more about the space the game gives you to breathe, to wonder, to feel small without feeling powerless. And that feeling, that soft kind of solitude, is what really makes it stick. It's not loud or flashy. It's just quietly unforgettable. Here's something I've been quietly revisiting lately, and it's a bit of a classic that really rewards patience and precision: Ninja Gaiden Black. It's like stepping into a fast-paced, carefully choreographed dance where every move matters, and the world around you is full of sharp edges and quick reflexes. The controls feel tight and responsive, and there's this satisfying way to each strike that makes combat feel both challenging and rewarding. What stands out, though, is how the game blends intense action with a subtle sense of atmosphere. The ancient temples, shadowy corridors, and sudden bursts of enemy encounters keep you on edge without ever feeling overwhelming. You're not just rushing through, you learn to read the rhythm of the fights, to anticipate your enemies, and to move with a kind of quiet focus. It's not flashy or loud, it's more like a steady, intense journey where every small victory feels earned. And the way it balances challenge with that sense of flow makes it feel timeless, like a game that respects your skill and encourages you to keep getting better, one encounter at a time. It's the kind of experience that sticks with you even when you're not playing. There's something quietly charming about revisiting old tales with a fresh coat of paint, and Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection feels like just that kind of journey. It's a world that feels familiar yet refreshed, where you step into the shoes of a determined knight facing relentless challenges, but with a new layer of depth and polish. What really caught my attention is how the game balances its classic, tough-as-nails platforming with moments that feel surprisingly thoughtful, little details in the environment, subtle shifts in pace, and a rhythm that asks you to be patient, careful, and persistent all at once. The levels have this handcrafted feel, where every trap and enemy placement invites you to learn and adapt without ever rushing you. And there's something genuinely rewarding about working through its challenges step by step, knowing that every tiny success is yours to own. It's not flashy or loud, but there's a steady heartbeat beneath everything, a mix of nostalgia and quiet determination that keeps pulling you back. It's like catching up with an old friend who still has stories left to tell, if you're willing to listen. There's this other gem I've been quietly getting into, and it's one of those experiences that feels both intense and strangely peaceful at the same time. Sekiro, Shadows Die, twice takes you into a world that's both beautiful and unforgiving, where every step you take feels deliberate and important. The atmosphere has this calm tension, like you're always just on the edge of something big happening, but there's a quiet patience in the way you move through it. The combat is sharp and thoughtful, almost like a conversation between you and your opponent, where timing and focus matter more than just button mashing. It's not about rushing forward. It's about learning the flow and respecting the challenge, which makes every success feel earned in the softest, most satisfying way. What really pulls me in are the little moments, the sound of wind through the trees, the slow rise of the sun over distant hills, the way shadows stretch just before a fight. There's a kind of gentle depth beneath all the action, a sense that the world is alive and waiting for you to find your own path through it. It's not flashy or loud. It's just quietly unforgettable. Here's something different I've been exploring lately, and it's one of those games that quietly draws you in with its blend of old and new. Wolong. Fallen Dynasty invites you into a world that feels both vast and intimate, where every fight carries a sense of weight and history. What really surprised me is how the game balances intense, skillful combat with moments of calm reflection, whether it's the subtle details in the architecture or the soft rustle of leaves in the wind. The way the mechanics flow together feels smooth but demanding, encouraging you to find your own rhythm rather than just rushing headlong. There's a sense of tradition woven into every corner, but it's also fresh enough to keep you curious and engaged. It's not about flashy effects or loud bursts of action. It's more about the quiet satisfaction of mastering something challenging piece by piece. That balance between tension and tranquility is what makes it stick with you long after you put the controller down.
We've done well to get this far. That would be the leader of this unit. A formidable opponent, no doubt.
There's this other gem I've been quietly diving into called Lies of P, and it has this fascinating way of blending familiar storytelling with a dark, mysterious twist. What really caught my attention is how the world feels alive, yet shrouded in secrets, inviting you to uncover its layers slowly and thoughtfully. The atmosphere has a subtle weight, like walking through a storybook where every shadow might hide a secret or a challenge waiting to unfold. The gameplay itself has a rhythm that encourages careful exploration and thoughtful combat, where timing and strategy come together more naturally than you might expect. It's not about rushing through, but savoring each moment, noticing the little details, the way environments change, how characters react, and the quiet hum of the story progressing around you. There's a calm depth here that makes it easy to get lost in, like discovering something quietly special that doesn't need to shout to be unforgettable. It's been a pleasant surprise and one I thought you might appreciate hearing about. Here's something different I've been spending time with lately. Remnant 2 has this quiet way of pulling you into a world that feels vast yet personal all at once. What really stood out to me is how the environment isn't just a backdrop but almost like a character itself, full of small details that make every moment feel meaningful. The gameplay flows with a smooth balance between careful planning and spontaneous action, which makes every encounter feel unique without ever being overwhelming. There's a certain calm focus that settles over you as you explore and adapt, learning to read the world and its challenges in your own way. It's not about rushing or flashy moves, but about appreciating the rhythm and pace that the game sets, letting you sink into the experience gently. I found it's one of those titles where you notice new things every time you play, which makes it feel fresh without needing to be loud or in your face. It's been a quietly rewarding journey, and I thought it might be something you'd enjoy hearing about too. Alright, thanks for hanging out and listening through the chat about those 20 insanely hard games that really tested even the best players. If any of those caught your attention, or if you have some tough favorites of your own, you're more than welcome to share your thoughts down below, no pressure at all. Just a quiet place to talk games and enjoy the little things that make them memorable. I hope you found something here that feels worth a look, or maybe just a moment to pause and think about what makes a challenge really stick with you. Take your time with it, and whenever you feel like it, I'll be around to talk more. Until then, just take it easy and thanks again for being here.